regulatory demand. Second, consent of at least 75% of investors by value for satisfying anticipated liabilities from litigation or tax demand. And third, substantiation of amounts retained for operational expenses through invoices or prior year comparables, subject to a maximum retention period of 3 years from end of permissible fund life. So these are safeguards, but within the safeguards, the real difficulties, operational difficulties have been noted, and therefore a proper mechanism has been proposed. Now, when they are treated as inoperative funds, so then the compliance requirement will be lowered because obviously there will not be any active fund management there. So therefore, discontinuation of periodic filings, PPM updation, and performance benchmarking will take place. So obviously, this will expected to reduce the compliance burden on AIFs with no active fund management activity while retaining necessary regulatory oversight. As you are aware, the process of every decision that there is a committee which goes into this advisory committee. In this case, for example, the APEC, and then public consultation process has taken place, and we have received quite a bit of support from comments which have been received, feedback which has been received. The second proposal is relating to the FPIs to permit net settlement of funds for transactions done by them. It's again an ease of doing measures. This currently FPIs settle their transactions with custodians on a gross basis, which results in additional costs for FPIs, including funding costs and foreign exchange slippages. Recognizing these concerns and with a view to enhancing operational efficiency and reducing cost of funding for FPIs, it has been decided to permit net settlement of funds for outright transactions done by FPIs in cash market. And what are these outright transactions? That is transactions in which there is either purchase or sale transactions, but not both in a particular security in a settlement cycle. Obviously, the request was that we should have a general netting, but then we have a problem where when FPIs are not allowed to do day trading, and therefore, if you have this complete, even in the same script, then that risk will arise, and therefore, only the outright, which means that either purchase or sale. The rest is to be given on a non-outright basis. Now, the proposal is expected to reduce the cost of funding for FPIs, particularly on index rebalancing days when outright purchases and sales occur in incoming and outgoing index constituents. So the timeline for this is on or before December 31, 2026, because it will require necessary system and process modifications. The third proposal is to review the minimum value of investments by individual investor in social impact fund of AIF under SEBI Alternative Investment Fund Regulations 2012. The individual investors in social impact fund today, they can make, they have a minimum requirements of rupees 2 lakh. But the zero coupon, zero principal instruments, minimum application size is 1,000 rupees under ICDR. So we have brought it in consistence with that, which means that retail can participate in social impact fund, particularly in in issues which are going through the social stock exchange at a value of minimum value of rupees 1,000 instead of rupees 2 lakhs currently. This will promote both the social stock exchange issuances as well as the retail participation in these. The next is the measures to enhance ease of doing business for the activities of InvITs and REITs. This is again relatively an exit issue. Whenever you are reaching at the end of scheme, you have to wind up the scheme. So the present regulations require that a special purpose vehicle under an InvIT is required to invest at least 90% of its assets in infrastructure projects. Upon the conclusion of concession agreement, the infrastructure project in the SPV ceases to exist. However, the InvIT may have to continue to hold investment in such SPV, since an immediate sale or winding up may not be practically possible due to pending claims, litigations, tax assessments, defect liability period under the concession agreement, etc. So to address this issue, InvITs will be permitted to continue to hold investment in SPVs post conclusion or termination of concession agreement. InvITs shall be required to either exit investment in such SPV or acquire new infrastructure project in such SPV within 1 year from the later of. So there are three things: either completion of concession agreement, or conclusion of pending claims and litigation, or completion of defect liability period. Whatever is later, within 1 year of that, you have to actually exit investments in such SPV or acquire new infrastructure project in such SPV. So the basic thing is that the InvIT should continue to hold investments in infrastructure, but when you are actually winding down because of the conclusion of concession agreement, you have post-concession formalities and requirements for which you require a certain period for which you have to continue the SPV. Now, obviously, when during the process, there will be some funds which would be available, which means that additional investment options for temporary deployment of funds by InvITs and REITs, and to mitigate concentration risk, InvITs and REITs will be permitted to invest in units of liquid mutual fund schemes where the credit risk value is at least 10 and which falls under class A1 or class B1 in the potential risk class matrix. As you are aware that there is a risk class matrix where we have an interest rate risk and there is also a credit value risk. And then there is, in that matrix, currently what is permitted is only 12 class A1